Would you kindly put on all the lights because I can't see the audience? One wonders why, in a place like this, we are being educated. For what? What is the relationship between this institution and the world? What place has knowledge, whether it's scientific, biological, or physics and so on, what relationship has that knowledge towards the world? And throughout the world, we're all being educated along various lines and with their disciplines. And we human beings have very little place in this world. So one must, I feel, ask why this elaborate years of study, acquiring a great deal of knowledge, great effort, and where is it all ending up? What place your scientific and other disciplines have relationship, actual, with the existing world. The existing world, the world in which we live, our daily life, whether in America, Russia, Europe, or in India or Japan, that very life is being threatened by war. Not only conventional war, but also by nuclear war. Some scientists, we were told, top scientists, gathered and wrote what they thought would happen if there was a nuclear war. They said that the whole earth will be covered by a thick layer of dust and smoke, and so the sun cannot possibly penetrate that, and the temperature will fall to 5 degrees below zero. So at the end of a nuclear war, not a living thing will exist on the earth. That's one activity of human endeavor, highly technological, highly concerned, each technician with his own particular life, with his own particular discipline, and totally disregarding what is happening to human beings throughout the world. And also, as one observes, there's this vast technological advancement, tremendous, so rapid, and it may lead to extraordinary results. And also, our human brains, not that the speaker is an expert in the study of the brain, but if one watches one's own activity in daily life, one sees the various activities in the brain. There's this technological world which is progressing with normal speed in the last 200 years, and added to that, the computer, which probably will take over all the activities of human beings, most of it. Perhaps it will not be able to write great music of Beethoven, Mozart, or Bach, classical Western music. But it will do most of the things that human beings are now doing. And what is going to happen to human brain? That is the technological world and the human world. We have given tremendous importance to technological world. That's why you have this institute, scientific and other various forms of study with their discipline, and we seem to neglect, perhaps totally, the whole human way of living. What is happening to man? That is, what is happening to you as a student or as a professor? What is your relationship with all the world, with all the things, most terrible things, horrible things that are happening, and also all the excellent things like in the world of technology, rapid communication, surgery, medicine, and all that side. And also they are inventing all the instruments of war that can destroy whole of humanity with one blow. This is not an exaggeration on the part of the speaker, but this is a fact. If one lived in America, they have been talking a great deal about what will happen if there is a nuclear war. 10 million people in New York will be evaporated, completely gone. And 100 million people within the radius of 100 miles or more or less. Technology is developing all that side. And human misery, the horrors that you see in this country, especially in towns like this, human beings living in those hovels, breeding children, living in dirt, squalor, misery. On the other side, what relationship has knowledge, not only the scientific knowledge, every kind of knowledge that human beings have acquired during the last 45,000 years that they have been on earth as human beings? And we end up like this. War, which has been going on for the last 5,000 to 6,000 years, destruction, hatred, misery, utter confusion and sorrow. And on the other side, man trying to find something beyond himself, beyond his own misery, his own selfishness, his utter insufficiency, his lack of affection. They invent gods. Especially in this country, I believe, there are over 300,000 gods. And all that superstition, vast sums of money spent on all that. We were told the other day that a temple in the South India, every third day, it has $1 million. So, we're asking you, professors, with their knowledge, and you acquiring their knowledge, and searching for a vocation which will be imitation. And what has all that got to do with your daily living? The word and the deed are so far apart. And one wonders if we are aware of all this. Or you are enclosed in your own institution or clay, so that you forget the world. So we're asking, what place all your knowledge? We're not against knowledge. We're asking, inquiring, what place has knowledge which you are acquiring, which may be necessary in certain area? What place has that in your relationship with the rest of humanity? Please, the speaker is not giving a lecture. He's not doing any kind of propaganda or trying to convince you of anything. But we are trying to observe together, see exactly what is happening without any bias, without the speaker's or yours prejudices, to see exactly what is taking place and facing it answer? What is our response to all this? We are inquiring together what place has knowledge in the world of human relationship. What place has all your scientific information gathered, stored in the brain as memory, and memory is always in the past. Knowledge is never complete, whether in the future or in the past. Knowledge is never complete because experience from which knowledge arises is also limited, incomplete. There can be no complete experience. So, from experience, knowledge, scientific, human, and so on, stored in the brain as memory, and from that memory arises thought. And thought is the very essence of knowledge. The thinker is knowledge, is the activity of knowledge. And the thought of the thinker is also part of knowledge. There is no thinker apart from thought. And the world, both in the scientific world, in all the cruelty that's going on, brutality, torture, inhumanity to the utter disregard for other human beings, all the things that are taking place in the world, poetry, great paintings, music, and this evening when you saw the sunlight on the water, the sparkling water, clear, so extraordinarily beautiful. And all that thought has built, except nature. Tiger is not created by thought. That lake, which you see every day, probably you've got used to it. Probably you hardly look at it. Man has not created that. Apart from nature, the heavens, and all the things of the earth, thought has not built, had no relationship to all that. But thought has invented gods. Thought has built the most marvelous architecture. The great temples of this country, the great mosques, the great cathedrals of Europe, and all the things that are in it are put together by thought. And thought is limited. There is no complete thought. Thought can never be complete. It can imagine. It can measure the heavens. But thought is always limited. And technology, the technological world, is the product of thought. Without thought, you couldn't produce a submarine, or go to the moon, or invent the nuclear bomb. Thought has been responsible for all this. And facing all this, we have innumerable problems. The world is faced with tremendous problems, both politically, economically, socially, and also, if you are interested in that kind of affair, in religion. Not the religion that's going on throughout the world, which is mere superstition, a lot of faith and belief, which has nothing whatever to do with what is true religion. So, having laid before you what's going on in the world, of which I'm quite sure you're quite aware, what is your response to all this? Not just one particular aspect of life, but to the whole of existence of man. That's your whole existence till you die. From now till you die. What's the meaning of it all this? So, what is your answer, your response to the world, to your vocation, which is imitation, conformity, absorption, either using that knowledge skillfully or inefficiently. And what is your relationship with your neighbor, with your wife, with your husband? And what is the relationship with the rest of humanity? You have, if you are at all thinking about these things, one must have an answer. We have lived on this earth, as the science biologists and others point out, as Homo sapiens, for 40 to 50,000 years. We've had wars, confusion, uncertainty, insecurity, misery, great anxiety. After all these thousands and thousands of years, we are still very primitive. You may be extraordinarily technologically advanced, but inwardly, in the psychological world, which dominates always the outer, the external, we are primitive, brutal, violent, selfish, superstitious, frightened, and so on. So we are keeping the two, that is the external, the technological, the daily travail, and the inward life. These two are completely separate. You may have excellent theories about human nature in the psychological world. You may be great technicians. And all that, which are the movement of memory, knowledge, and that has nothing whatever to do with your daily behavior. The two are divorced, the word and the deed. And that's what we've been educated for. So our education, our knowledge, which is completely limited, will always be limited. What has knowledge to do with our human relationship? Doesn't knowledge kill love? You understand what we are saying? May I go on with what I'm saying? Because this is not, as I pointed out, a lecture to inform and to instruct. So this is not a lecture. This is a conversation, a dialogue between us, in which you are taking part. You're not merely, if I may most respectfully point out, you're not merely listening to the speaker, words, intellectually grasping certain concepts, ideas, but we are having a dialogue, a conversation about the whole of existence as human beings. So please, you are taking part in what is the speaker is saying, not merely listen to certain words. We live by words. Our whole brain is a network of words. And words are not the actual. This microphone, the word microphone, is not the actual thing you see. But we are so caught up, so conditioned by words, by language, by tradition, by knowledge. And so our brain is never free. We are problem-solving machines, aren't we? We have been trained from childhood to learn mathematics, and that becomes a problem for a child, or geography, or history, physics, and so on. And also it becomes a problem in a school, in college, in universities, in institutions. We are problem-solving machines. That's a fact. And we have made life, the living, into a vast, dreadful problem. So we are so conditioned, our brain, And our brain has divided the world into the Christian, into the Hindu, the Buddhist, the Islamic world, separate, divided. And this division of nationalism is one of the causes of war. Causes of war is economic division. Each country concerned with itself. There is great misery, poverty, brutality in this country. When you drive down from Bombay, you see all those huts, tenements, filthy. Human beings are living there. You want to cry when you see all that. And nobody cares. I know. You listen to this, what the speaker has to say, but it'll make very little dent. Governments don't care. Individuals don't care. Because they're only concerned with themselves, with their power, with their knowledge, with their money. The modern civilization is based on power and money. And students throughout the world, because the speaker has spoken in many universities in America, and some of the institutions in this country. And they're all being trained to seek a vocation of imitation, to be safe, to pass examinations, get a degree, PhD and all the rest of it, and get a job, either in this country or go to America. Probably, as I was informed this afternoon, 30% of you go to America, where you make a lot of money. That's all your knowledge is leading you to. And we're asking, if you are at all serious, and youth generally is serious about certain matters, what is your response, your action to all this that's going on? Either you withdraw from it, join some cranky institution, ashrama, some gurus who are making tons of money, or enter into the world, caught in it, or you have a life of your own. And what is the purpose of your existence? What's the meaning of your existence? Please, the speaker is saying all this in humility. He's only challenging you. What's the purpose of all this? Is life's purpose merely to earn money? To be married, house, power, position? Is that the purpose of your life? And apparently it is. That's what you're all being trained for. That's what you want. And if you're dissatisfied with that, then you invent a purpose. Purpose is to find God. or some kind of imaginative illumination. Or if that doesn't satisfy you, you take to drugs, drink, and all the rest of vast amusement. And one wonders if you have realized what the entertainment industry is doing to you. There is not only the religious entertainment, going to temples, puja, and all the circus that goes on around a temple, or a church or a mosque. Please don't get annoyed. We're just pointing this out. And what is the purpose of all this? On earth we have lived for 40 to 50,000 years. Please realize this. We have evolved. We have gone through great many tears, laughter, pain, anxiety. And yet we remain what we are: selfish, narrow-minded, concerned with ourselves, and to hell with everything else. That's an actual fact. So, if one may ask, are you wasting your life? Life, which is so complex, which has no ready-made answers, life which is so vast, and therefore is something most extraordinarily sacred. And what do we do with it? You have to answer this question. Whether you are old or young, whether you're well established in a position, wealth, power, is that the whole meaning of life? And if that is the whole meaning of life, which is to have knowledge, knowing that knowledge will always be limited, therefore thought will always be limited, and therefore divisive, therefore bringing about great conflict, inward self, and therefore outwardly, externally. And knowing, if one has examined it objectively, without any fear, that the whole religious structure throughout the world is just utterly meaningless. So what? You as students and professors, with that marvelous lake, with the sun on it, the beauty of it, the poem of it, the grandeur. What's your response? What's your responsibility? You see, we have always had leaders in this country especially, and also in Europe more so. You have had leaders here, one after the other, both religious, political, social, and all that business. And where have they led you? Where has Marx has led the communist world? Where has all your sacred, so-called sacred literature, Upanishads, Gita and all that, those books, there's nothing sacred about them. No book is sacred. All those things that we have invented. So, what is the meaning of all this existence? We may not want to look at it. We may want to avoid. We may say, I'm too young. It's not my business. And the older people say, sorry, we are too old, we can't face it anymore. They're willing to die. And so, what is your knowledge leading to? Conformity, imitation, absorption of all this information, and nothing original, nothing pristine. And what place has knowledge? Love. Is not knowledge the enemy of love, the destroyer of love? Would you please consider this? You give about 20 or 30 years to acquiring in the acquisition of physics, linguistic experimentation with biology, sociology, with philosophy, psychoanalysis, psychiatry, and so on. You give years and years, and you don't give one day or 1 hour to find out for yourself what you are and why you are living like this. After all, sirs and ladies, you don't mind if I say sirs? Sirs includes the ladies, all right? Don't be offended if we do not include, say, sirs and ladies. After all, sir, have you observed that human beings, whether they live in America, both the affluent and also a great deal of poverty, misery in America, great deal of poverty in Europe, nearly 4 million people are employed in England, and all the tyranny that's going on in Russia, the brutality of it all, in the name of Marx and socialism, and you come to this country. Poverty, incurable, most appalling poverty. We have been brought up in it. Not you, perhaps, for wealth, power. All of us of my generation, that particular people, have lived through poverty. And have you realized, if I may most politely pointing out, that whether they live in affluent society, whether they live in castles or in huts, or whether they live as students, this human consciousness is shared by all human beings, because all human beings suffer, go through great agonies, great sense of loneliness, despair, meaningless of this existence. All human beings on this earth, which is so extraordinarily beautiful, which we are very sedulously destroying it. We are living on this earth, and all human beings, whether they're the poorest, the most illiterate, or the highly sophisticated, great professors of great knowledge, they all suffer. They all face death. They go through great sense of desperate loneliness. We share all this. Every human being on this earth shares all this. Do please listen to what the speaker is saying. Don't get bored. Nobody's going to tell you all this. We share the common sorrow, the sorrow of the whole of mankind. Our consciousness is made up of all this. Your consciousness is not yours, though your tradition, both religious, economic, social, says you are a separate individual. Your whole consciousness, your consciousness is what you are. Your belief, your superstitions, your fears, your anxieties, your faith, your lack of love, your selfishness is the consciousness of all humanity. There is no escape from that. It's a fact. And therefore you are not an individual. You may be tall, you may be a woman and a man, you may have fair skin, and so on. But you are not an individual. Not the individual in the sense, in the communist sense, Marxist sense. We're talking of something much deeper than social product. So you are not an individual. You are the whole of humanity. Because you smile, you laugh, you shed tears, you go through great turmoil, you make effort, conflict, facing insecurity. And the Americans are doing exactly the same thing. So are the Russians. So you are actually the rest of mankind. You are not a Hindu, though you like to call yourself a Hindu. That's just your local, provincial, narrow conditioning. So, facing all this, are you going to waste your life getting a job, passing some examinations, being trained to imitate? That's what you are being taught, to imitate. to conform, to fit into the pattern. And is that the end of life? Then you'll ask, what shall we do? Is there something else? To find something totally different from all this, you have to have a great deal of intelligence. Intelligence is not knowledge. Knowledge gives you capacity. Knowledge gives you position, status. Knowledge is not love. Knowledge is not compassion. It's only where there is love and compassion, there is intelligence. And that intelligence has nothing whatsoever to do with the cunning intelligence of thought. So when you must ask, for speaker can most politely put it before you, what is the meaning of your existence? Are you wasting your life? And this is the only life you have. You may think there is reincarnation, that you'll go next life. That may be merely theory. But what matters is, even if you believe in reincarnation, what matters is how you live now. If you are good, if you are not violent, if you are a total human being, not broken up into scientists, biologists, special careers, then your life is broken up, conflict. And so your life is never a holistic movement. So considering all this, will you waste your life? Nobody can answer that question except yourself. If the speaker were to tell you, which he won't because it's absurd, unintelligent, stupid, to say what is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is what you are doing now. Study, or you've already a job, earn more money, more status, more power, and that's what you want. And that is the purpose of your life. And also, you have to face the ultimate thing, which is death. You may not, as we are young, as you're all young people, it also is there for you as well as for the older generation. It's always there. And can you live with the death? That requires a great deal of inquiry, to live with death, not commit suicide, not run away from death, but to know what the depth and the greatness and the tremendous vitality of death. This is all of life. This is the whole of life. To have knowledge to be able to inquire into the whole psychological world of which you are, to understand all that, not from books, not from philosophers, not from your professors, but to learn from yourself what you are. And you will discover, if you go into yourself, that your whole life is based on becoming something. As a clerk becomes the manager, the reader becomes the professor, the chief minister ultimately becomes the prime minister, and so on. They're always, both outwardly and inwardly, trying to become something. And this is what we call living. Never a moment of quietness, never a moment of great beauty in our life, but the incessant chattering of the brain. And you, if one may point out, you are facing all this. Don't disregard all this. Because the psychological world, the inner world, what you are inwardly, overcomes whatever social structure, governments are established. Always overcomes all that. As you see it in Russia, they started out with having no government, no army, no division, no nationality. They said governments will disappear. But the psyche was far more stronger than the superficial social structure. So they have there now the privilege, these top people who have everything in the world, best of everything. Like here, the top people. So, what are we going to do after listening to this talk? Not a lecture, a conversation between you and the speaker. What's your responsibility? Is your brain open to all this? The global affair, or your own narrow little yard, the narrow little self, the me, which is a very small affair? Or you're going to be concerned with the whole world, which means you cannot be an Indian anymore. You cannot be a Christian, a Hindu, a Buddhist. All those divisions are destructive. They have no meaning. You have to bring a new civilization, new culture, new way of looking at life. I finished talking. Do you want to ask questions? The speaker has stopped. Do you want to ask any questions? Written or otherwise? I'm not the oracle. Oh dear.
Shall I read it out?
Read it. I can read it. If I can't read the handwriting, sorry, I can read, but sorry, it's so badly written, I can't read.
Knowledge of any kind cannot be bad. What could possibly be bad is the use of it, the use it is put into. In the opinion of the listener, the call of the day is to acquire or cultivate the sense, which is again knowledge, of properly using knowledge for proper causes. Kindly comment.
Did I read that question again? Read once more, sir, loudly.
Knowledge of any kind cannot be bad. What could possibly be bad is the use of it, the use it is put into. In the opinion of this listener, the call of the day is to acquire or cultivate the sense, which is again knowledge, of properly using knowledge for proper causes. Kindly comment.
Who is the user? Who is the entity that is using knowledge properly or wrongly? Right? Is not the entity the user of knowledge? Is himself knowledge? You understand my question? You have asked a question that if we use knowledge rightly, it's all right. It is the wrong usage of knowledge that's wrong. That's bluntly put. But I'm asking, the speaker is asking, the questioner, who is the user who uses knowledge rightly? Is not the user, the thinker, the entity, is also knowledge? Isn't he also knowledge? Is he separate from knowledge? Or the problem is not the right usage of knowledge, right or wrong usage, but what places knowledge? It has knowledge in the right place. It is to drive a car, to write a letter, if you are a carpenter, to use the knowledge that you acquired about the wood, the shape of the wood, the quality of the wood, the grain of the wood, and so on. There, you need knowledge. But do we need knowledge about oneself? Because oneself is knowledge. I don't know if you understand it. And I ask, is the speaker asking your question, sir? First of all, if I may more respectfully point out, the question is wrong. You assume, if I may point out most politely, you assume that the user of knowledge is different from knowledge. Who are you who is going to use knowledge? Are you not the result of centuries of knowledge? Unconscious, conscious. You, the self, is knowledge. So you have divided knowledge and the entity that uses knowledge. But both are based on knowledge. So we are saying that knowledge has a definite place in the world of a daily activity. But psychological knowledge, that is, the knowledge that you have about your wife and you have about your husband, that knowledge is divisive. That knowledge prevents love. You can see this simply. You have an image about your wife and the wife has an image about you. And the images are built through knowledge. You have lived with her for 20 years or 5 days, and you have already got knowledge about her. So you have built an image about her. And the images have a relationship, not you and the woman or the man. So these are all facts if you examine it closely.
Shall I put one?
Give me any one. Give me by the same man, that one.
The same kind?
By the same man.
That I wouldn't know, sir.
You can see the handwriting, sir.
Here's
all right. Read one. Say it doesn't matter.
As said by you, we are problem-solving machines, which means machines meant for research and scientific investigation. Do you think then that all the problems of humanity would be solved if life is organized from the point of view of developing, producing and maintaining these machines scientifically with an aim to promote research and science, and not left to develop haphazardly as is going on today? He says that you say we are all problem-solving machines, in which case
organize it.
Isn't it?
Yes. Organize it. May I tell you a story? Two friends were walking in one of the dirty streets of Bombay. And one of them picks up something from the pavement and looks at it, and his face is tremendously illuminated, happy. He cannot hold himself. And he's keeping looking at it, at this extraordinary thing he's picked up. And his friend said, "What have you picked up? You look so happy, you look so radiant, something has happened to you. What have you picked up?" He said, "I picked up truth." And the friend says, "Marvelous, let's go and organize it." No laugh? Do you see the point of that story? You want everything organized. Put it in their categories. Organization demands hierarchy. And you're used to hierarchy, both religiously, politically, socially. Somebody always in authority above you. So what does authority do to you? Of course, the professor knows more about physics than you do. The surgeon knows than the beginner in medicine. But why do you need hierarchy, authority in the spiritual world? Forgive me if I use that word spiritual, because it's been misused, that word. Well, you want authority about yourself. Who's going to tell you about yourself? The professors? Volumes have been written from the ancient Greeks and the Egyptians, what you are. And probably some of you have read them, but you remain what you are. And you want what you are to be organized. So, organization in certain areas are necessary. In the other psychological world, it is destructive. Because then we become, psychologically, we become slaves to organizations.
Throughout your talk, you claimed that there is already a lot of confusion in this world, but I do not remember you having given a suggestion or solution regarding that. Don't you think that this adds to the confusion rather than reduce it?
Do you read it again?
Throughout your talk, you claimed that there already is a lot of confusion in this world, but I do not remember you having given a suggestion or solution regarding that. Don't you think that this adds to the confusion rather than reduce it?
Certainly. Certainly it adds more confusion. But I didn't say the confusion is not there. It is there. I don't claim it. Walk down Bombay, any street in Bombay, or in Paris, or in New York, or where you will, there's a great deal of confusion. That's a fact. Aren't you in confusion? So, and the questioner says, that's a negative statement. What's your positive statement? You understand? You have said that there is confusion. I claim, as the questioner says. I don't claim it. It would be absurd if I claimed, but it's a fact. The fact is that where there is confusion, there is conflict. Like the Arab and the Jew. Both are Semitic people, divided by propaganda on the part of the Jews for 4,000 to 5,000 years, on the part of the Muslim between 1,600 years. They are fighting each other, killing each other. That's the essence of confusion. It's not, I claim it, it's so. Aren't you all confused? When you look at yourself honestly, clearly, aren't you all confused? You may be good at your side, you may have a good job, settled, but inwardly, aren't you all asking, what is it all about? You are confused. And you say, questioner says, what is your positive remedy, positive action or suggestion to this, about this confusion? The speaker says, there is no suggestion. He's not offering you a thing. He's not telling you what to do. But look at this confusion carefully. Don't say there is no confusion. You mean say, when you walk when you drive to Bombay, central Bombay, you don't see all those hovels, people living there, breeding, those children unhealthy. Is that not confusion? Poverty is confusion. Isn't there confusion about gods? Christian God, your Hindu God, but isn't that all confusion? So the speaker says, look at the confusion. Don't run away from it. Then what happens? Where does the confusion begin? Out there or out here, in here? Please answer that question. Who put this question? Where does the confusion lie? Who has created those hobbles which you pass daily by? We human beings, you. Was your rotten government, unconscious community, scandalous behavior in this, and you allow all that day after day, year after year. So if you realize you have brought this about, your governments, your gods, you are responsible for all this. You are responsible for war because you are a Hindu or you are a Jew or a Christian. Therefore, don't be a Jew, don't be a Hindu, so that you are a whole of humanity, you are a free human being, not a label. One more question. What is love? And how does it arise? What is love and how does it arise? Good God. Don't you know what love is? Apparently you don't. Do you love your wife? If you are married, do you love your children? If you love your children, would you make them conform to this particular rotten society, immoral society? Send them to war to be killed? So your questioner says, what is love? And how does it arise? My God. It means, sir, first of all, what is love? Can you describe it? Can you put it into words? Or would you find out what is not love? Would you approach it negatively, not positively? Let's say, what is love? Tell me how to get it. You realize what you have put this question, what it implies? That you have never loved anybody. Whether you have been married, whether you have had sex, children. So what is love? Would you approach it negatively, saying what it is not? Is love jealousy? Is love devotion? Is love possessiveness, domination, man dominating the woman? As in this country it's happening. Is that love? Is love attachment? Where there is attachment, there is fear. Right? If you are attached to your wife and she turns away from you, you become jealous, angry, hatred, all the ugly things that go on. So could you, if one may point out most gently, find out what love is by negating what is not. An ambitious man, as most of you are, can never know love. He's only concerned with himself. A man who is devoted to God, go to temples, mosques, churches, tremendous devotion to his guru. You know how they kowtow to guru, go on there and almost on their knees to the so-called guru, who's just like you. Is devotion love or real sentiment, emotion? So find out, sir. Find out what it's not. And then you have that perfume, that extraordinary thing. Then life has a meaning, not all your knowledge. I'm afraid we must stop now. It's 7:45. And also, if I may spend 2 minutes, Hindus are accustomed to meditation. It's one of their games. What is meditation? Why do you meditate? You meditate in order to achieve something, right? Achieve happiness, peace, or whatever you like, illumination, peace of mind, and all that business. Your meditation is just like any other person who says, I'm going to become a businessman. Only you call it meditation, the other calls it businessman. Both want to achieve something. Is that meditation? Or is meditation something entirely different? I won't go into that question, it's too complicated. But you should think, look at all this. Not think about it, look at it. If you have time, if you have the inclination, if you are interested, and obviously, if you are serious and concerned with what is happening in the world, happening to yourself, you have to look at all this. And of course, you're too busy studying books when you won't have time. And therefore you're destroying the world, not looking at your own life and your relationship to the world. Right, sir.